Welcome to another episode of From a People Perspective, a show hosted by Martin Hauck. Today's guest is Denzel Mutoko, Senior Talent Acquisition Partner at Dealmaker, where he helps build high-performing teams in one of Canada's fastest-growing fintech companies. After starting his career in agency recruitment and quickly becoming one of the industry's top performers, Denzel has built a reputation for combining data-driven recruiting with a genuine passion for people, candidate experience, and continuous improvement. In this episode, we explore how AI is changing the day-to-day work of recruiters, where it creates leverage, and why some parts of hiring still can't be automated. We talk about what it takes to evolve from a recruiter into a true talent advisor by thinking beyond placements and becoming a strategic partner to the business. And we discuss why building a successful career means investing in more than just work, from developing the right mindset to creating a life that isn't defined solely by your job. This podcast is brought to you by the People Group. We're on a mission to economically empower people leaders. By joining our community, you'll gain access to career opportunities, a network of over 6,000 modern people leaders, and exclusive tools and resources. Learn more at thepeoplegroup.com.
Here's the problem with most HR data. You have it, you just can't do anything useful with it fast. HR teams spend 70% of their time on admin, not strategy. Rippling built their AI on one unified data model. HR, IT, finance, payroll, all connected. Ask it a real question, get a real answer. No canned responses, actual live data from your company. And yeah, it can take a picture of a whiteboard and turn it into a report. That part's real too. Rippling, built for people ops teams who are tired of the gap between knowing and doing. Rippling.com.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of From a People Perspective. I'm your host, Martin Hauck, and today we've got Denzel Mutoko. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So you're a senior talent acquisition partner at Dealmaker. And yeah, so much to talk about. But before we jumped on here, we were just talking a bit about background, how it's not yours, how you're in Montreal right now, so you can't speak to all the cool stuff behind you. But you're saying something interesting about being a visual learner.
Visual learner, also more of an audio person when it comes to especially like reading books. And it's a hot take, but this is just my philosophy of life. First of all, I don't like walking. And people will be like, wait, why don't you like walking? It's good. But I think walking is inefficient if I'm trying to get from point A to point B. Unless you're in downtown Toronto, it's actually physically faster to walk than sitting in a car. But for me, I'd rather take, for example, streetcar, bike, subway, the most efficient mode of transportation. So that ties back to reading. Me personally, I'm a slow reader. Obviously, people say if you read more, you become a lot quicker, all of that. But if I'm trying to read something to inherit and get the knowledge as quick as possible, I want to either listen to it because I could either not multitask, but I could also consume knowledge a lot quicker, or watch it in a documentary, for example. So this is my take about life and reading. I definitely need to get more into it. People say it's good for you, which I'm sure it is because there's probably studies around it. But if someone gives me the option to read the book or get it as an audio or potentially watch a documentary of the same book, I will go documentary, audio, then read it.
I love this. I love this on so many levels, and I'm very biased, and I think I've talked about it a couple times. I even did an entire podcast episode about it. So have you heard of aphantasia?
No.
Okay. So aphantasia, I'm curious now. So when you close your eyes and you try to visualize like an apple, for example, do you see anything? You can see it.
When I close my eyes and visualize an apple?
Yeah.
As in yes.
Okay. And so like give me like, do you see it on a background? Is it just like blackness and then you see the apple just shows up? Is it a green apple? Well, talk to me about the apple.
It's just my most recent memory of an apple, and it's not even a green apple. It's just an apple. During our work, we have a snack station, and the
Mhm.
apple's in a white bowl. And when the first thing you said, think about an apple. I went back to my most recent memory of when I last touched or picked up an apple, and it was during that situation.
Okay, cool. So the reason, so aphantasia is, and so for a second there, when you were describing your like learning preferences, it was like similar to mine. So I have aphantasia, and this is not what the podcast is, but we're just getting into some fun icebreakers here. But aphantasia is the inability to visualize anything. So I close my eyes, and for my entire life, it's been nothing but just black. All I see is that there's nothing. If I visualize something, it's not happening. So like in class or at like meditation, like visualize yourself on a beach, like it's not happening. There's no sensations, there's no visualizations whatsoever. And so I've always found that I learn differently, and like people are like, "Oh, you got to read this book or you've got to like do this thing." And I'm like, it just doesn't stick. It doesn't, like, I have to learn through conversation. That's part of the reason why I do this podcast. And it's just like I love like hearing people's stories and that and learning about things through story. And so it was interesting, like I always gravitate towards that because so many people don't know it doesn't
And
exist.
to your point, actually, I don't mean to cut you off. Is like, and what I explained to you, I could only imagine it because I've been through it. So that's why, because like that. So, for example, you mentioned an apple. For some books, they're like, I have some books, for example, Harry Potter. I've never physically rode on a stick, or I can't envision envision that stuff. So like, if someone tells me to just imagine it, I can't imagine stuff that I have never experienced.
Yeah.
So for the apple example wasn't the best one because I've seen it eat an apple, but when it comes to like the sci-fi and the stuff that I haven't experienced myself, I'm like, I can't imagine that. Like I can't picture it in my head,
Yeah.
and that's what most books are. So from that point of view, but yeah, if books were more apples and
Interesting.
oranges, then yes, I'll be able to read more books and imagine it.
So are you saying that you like absolutely can't, or it's just that like if you tried to like imagine something that you've never personally experienced? Because
I
I've never
can't.
heard about this before. So
Yeah, so that's what the thing.
it's just doesn't happen.
If I close my eyes and someone tells me, if I close my eyes and can, hey, imagine yourself surfing, I've never surfed. I cannot imagine myself. Like, there's this person was surfing down the big waves. I can't imagine that because I've never surfed down big waves. Um, I've been in a pool, I've been in the ocean, but I've never surfed. So
Wild. I've
yeah,
never heard of. I feel like I've got to share like a clip of this podcast on like Reddit because I follow the channel for Fantasia because I'm obsessed with this. But anyways, wild. That's so cool. All right. So next, way less personal question. If you had to choose one album to listen to or one musical artist for the rest of the time, which one would you be listening to?
you know what? The, if you asked me this, like probably like 5 years ago, it would be Beyonce.
Okay.
Beyonce is one of my favorite artists. But in the last recent 5 years, um, I've trended more towards house music and more towards music that doesn't have lyrics. And it's more just sounds and beats. So if I had to pick like one artist at the top of mind, his name is Hugel, or Black Coffee. But it's less of a lyric album. I would say Beyonce, and I'll say one of her older albums as well.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Um yeah, no, I do love a good non, like I can't even concentrate if I'm listening. I can't do work and listen to music with lyrics. It's just not happening. I don't
Yeah,
know if you have
exactly. Not
that,
at
but
all.
no, it's just like I'm listening to every word they're saying, even if I've heard the song before. Like unless I've listened to it like 100 times, it's just like no, I gotta pay attention to that kind of thing. It's just not happening.
Yeah, it's definitely people that listen to music with lyrics. And I've also listened to other podcasts called the Mindset Mentor.
Mm,
I don't know if you know heard of it, but
no.
he also mentions that this is a hot take. Another hot take is people shouldn't multitask. in the sense that
Yep.
when they're doing one task, they should dedicate 100% of the time to that task. Even when it comes to my day to day, for example, people like I've spoken to some talent acquisition folks. Yeah, I normally screen resumes like while watching like TV and stuff like that. But then you actually, if you just spend 100% of your time screening resumes, you can actually go a lot quicker than watching TV and screening resumes. So you might as well
Yeah.
just dedicate 100% of your time. So it brings me back to music. Is sometimes I don't even like listening to music when I'm doing work because I get carried away, get lost in the music lyrics or not, and I'd rather just 100% focus on the work and then be able to 100% focus on the music and take it from there. But yeah.
No, I mean, I talked to my mentor today. Actually, it was hilarious. I rarely, like maybe once a year, and he had that mindset as well. He's like, there's no such thing as multitasking. You have to be like 100% focused on the thing that you're doing. And I mean, I find it to be true, and I agree. And there's a trend, there's a theme coming out of this conversation, and I'm when we met at the talent acquisition dinner like earlier this year, I was just like sitting beside you for, I think like it was sort of like after the
Yeah.
main dinner part, and we just started chatting, and I'm like, I want to, we got to do a podcast. I want to learn more, hear more. What's your story? It was so interesting, so captivating. And that's what we're here to do today. So like maybe tee it up for folks. I know like obviously you're at Dealmaker right now, but like, yeah, like walk us through how you got into what you're doing, where and how you got to where you are
Well,
today.
100%. So little Denzel, born and raised in Dubai, the Middle East, where it's a lot warmer, and a lot warmer than here. I'm looking outside. It's raining. It's really dark. It's only 4:20. And it's really dark, but quite the opposite. So born and raised in Dubai, and then kind of went to school. I my passion and love has always been football, what you guys call soccer, and did all of that. Played throughout my whole life, career, and then once upon a time, I actually to the team I played for in Dubai, we actually went to a tournament in Denmark, and that's where some universities were at and kind of got the initial look at what Denzel can do. And then after that, after graduation, I actually got the opportunity to go to McGill, where I was able to play for soccer for them. And then what brought me fast forward, I actually started studying for so that's what brought me to Canada. And then I was in the commerce school. I was studying economics and finance. No one teaches you about HR. No one teaches you about recruitment or anything like that in school. You don't even hear of it. It's not even a topic of discussion. Especially at least in business school. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely not a topic of discussion. And then I was actually in a fraternity during my time in McGill. And someone from my fraternity was like, did you know you could make just as much money in recruitment as you can in investment banking? And then
Mm,
I was like, because like in school, you either in business school, you either go into investment banking, you go into consulting. Like those are the only two,
yeah.
those are the mainstream ones. So someone's like, did you know you could do that? And this is after I graduated. And I was obviously looking for my next kind of career opportunity. I remember this very vividly because I experienced it. I was in France, and I kind of had my first call with the first recruitment agency director that I was potentially going to work at. Had the first call with him, and he was like, "Love to have you on board." I met one or two other individuals, and then I kind of like took the risk and stumbled upon agency recruitment just like that. With no prior experience, not knowing myself
Nothing.
moving into,
You're
just
just
knowing that I can.
baptized in recruitment. That was your first gig.
That was my first gig. Just knowing in the back of my mind, if I hustle and if I give 100%, I could make lots of money. That
Yeah.
is what was my goal. I didn't even know what recruitment was. I didn't even know what I was going to be recruiting for. I didn't even know what it meant. I just all I meant is means if I fill X amount of seats, I get paid Y amount. How many seats do I have to get paid in order to get Y
Yeah.
square? And that's how I kind of stumbled upon recruitment, and the rest was kind of I could walk you through everything, but the rest is kind of history. But that's what brought me to where I am
Yeah.
today.
You haven't true blue recruiter. You like got into it. You love it. This is what you're doing. This is what you're gonna do. And maybe that'll change, but I definitely want to kind of talk about how your mindsets has shifted over the years, and maybe like it looks and sounds like you started off in the agency world, and now you're
Like,
in-house, and
yeah,
maybe, yeah, like not everybody gets that experience. I had that experience, and it feels like I could not have been. I feel like I would do it that way versus like if you went in-house and then you went agency side, I feel like you would go
it,
back to in-house
and
pretty quickly.
there's always this double-edged sword. I guess me and you are also kind of fortunate, very lucky, because there is this stigma in the industry is once you do agency, oh, you're not going to be very good at in-house. It's very different, and it's even harder to go from in-house to agency because of the pace of what they say. But
Yeah.
I think it kind of stems down to like the individual and the person, which but many companies don't realize because they're looking for people with prior experience. But the way I kind of moved into that kind of hemisphere is I was fortunate enough to, during my recruitment time, I was able to hit lots of metrics, lots of success very early on. And I was able to take on ownership of different client groups that I was actually supporting them from an on-premise perspective. So
Hmm.
I would go in, support them from an on-premise, kind of be engraved and included into their day-to-day talent acquisition to say per se. And that's how I kind of made that segue from agency. I ended up working for one of my clients that I supported while still being at the agency. I just went with them full time. So that's how I kind of made my transition over from agency into in-house by supporting the client from an agency perspective with like, hey, we'd love
Right.
to have you on board, bring you up here. And then wasn't the best. I would say for me, the industry I moved into where I didn't see myself in the long term, like the CPG, that side of the house, and I was always chasing for that fintech, that exciting kind of financial opportunity, and then kind of made the right pieces of moves. I actually went from agency to in-house, back to agency for a bit, and then now in-house. From that perspective, so I was fortunate enough to be able to move back and forth. But I feel it comes down to being able to adapt.
Yeah.
And when I say adapt, being able to, for example, what doesn't change, at least in my philosophy, is the white glove treatment that both stakeholders, clients, and candidates get, and that can
Mhm.
be transferred both agency.
100%.
And so that's what I keep consistent, and kind of what gets me through the way.
In terms of this is really interesting because I've not seen or heard too many times being able to go back and forth between, like, yes, you go from one to the other, then going back there's a different angle. What's your approach right now? Like, what's top of mind? Like, why are you in-house versus on the agency side? There is a difference in terms of, like, I guess, like the potential lucrative side of it. Like that was the appealing side for me, is like, oh, you can make all this money on the agency side. And that's what I got into it. Um, and then slowly over time, for me at least, there was this like, I just loved the work. I loved talking to people, meeting new people, and playing a small part in people's careers and lives. But then things kind of shifted when I went in house, and like all those things remain the same. But I guess, like, what are your motivations, or what were your motivations to kind of like
At
stay in house and go from there?
at the beginning, it was just being fully transparent, definitely solely motivated around comp,
Yeah.
and money. But then it came to a point where I found myself doing lots of the same repetitive tasks and repetitive kind of processes in the agency world,
Hmm.
in the sense that because I was so good at my craft, all I was looking to because I was so good at my craft, I kept on filling the same kind of positions. I built a network. I was able to fill them fast. I was able to hit my numbers. So I became an expert in filling the exact same positions, like I would say like 200 times, for example.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, is I don't know if I want to be doing this like forever. Like the money is great, but I also want to learn a new skill. I want to challenge myself. I want to develop and all of that. So that's what kind of started ringing the bells, of moving away from the agency side of the world. And I also found myself, which is earlier on, my motivations change, in the sense that today I am less fueled by income, and I have also pivoted to. I've also changed my philosophy in life has also changed a bit. Is that um, I love what I do, but I also want to be able to do the stuff I love. So what that so what that means is I love what I do. I love working with the talent acquisition. I love working with people. But then for example, doing personal life events, I've torn my Achilles twice. And doing both times, that means I've in the last 4 years, I was unable to do full active activity for 2 of those years because the recovery is almost 9 months each tear.
Yeah.
During that time, I found new hobbies. One of them being spin.
Yeah.
And I found myself that I love doing that, and I want to dedicate some more time to that. So I was like, maybe I could become a spin instructor, which I ended up doing, and I ended up loving, and continuing to do while still having my corporate job, from that perspective. And with agency, I used to find myself so deep in the work and always chasing that next hire and forgetting about the other stuff I love in life that I wanted to incorporate more into my life.
Yeah.
So those my motivations also kind of changed from that perspective, and why I decided to make the move away from agency, more talent in house. And also, from my perspective and my experiences, have been so fortunate enough, I was able to grow more than just a talent acquisition, let's say execution person, to be more of a talent advisor.
Mm.
I've always also wanted to get some flavor to business partnering, kind of expanding. We call it becoming like a T-shaped employee. I
Yeah.
have lots of experience in talent acquisition recruitment, but I also want to get experience on the horizon as it comes to like business partnering, employer relations. So I want to get exposure to that, and which you don't get as much like in the agency world.
Yeah. Yeah. You get agency world is your recruiter. And
Yes.
like that is it. You're there to produce candidates and close candidates. Whereas the fun part is when you're internal, you get to there's so many more opportunities and knocks at the door for you to be like, oh, can I get involved with this project that's unrelated to recruitment? And like, oh, we've got to stand up, hiring in this completely new country, and you get to play a role in, determining which countries, going to
The
be
best.
best for the
Or
organization or whatever the
like
case might be.
compensation structure.
Yeah.
Like for example, the way I see it is, recruitment, to put it in the financial terms, is consulting, because
Yep.
you're coming in, you're helping different clients. You don't really know what happened to the candidates after they get promoted or after they see success, or like after you place them and then they've gone over to the client, versus talent in-house is like working in-house in a company. So some people love the consulting world, that's why they're consultants. And some people want to see projects end to end, and that's why they
Yeah.
go in-house, and that's how I see it.
Nice. Um, so now let's kind of zoom in on the present. You're at Dealmaker, you're senior talent acquisition professional. You've been in recruitment for how long, would you say?
I
Just in
started
general.
I started in this September 2019. I think that was my first job. So
2019. So you've been at it, yeah, 8 years, almost a decade. And it's what's insane is the amount of change in like the last 2 years, let alone. So I'm just curious, like right now, what are you paying attention to as a talent acquisition professional? Like what's caught your eye? What tools are you excited about? What tools are you using? What strategies are you using now that you weren't using like 6 months ago or 12 months ago? Like give me a sense of what's changed there.
perfect. Lots of things have been changing, adapting. Yeah. When did I start? Well, that's like what, 2019, 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But like lots of change. Like for example, especially right now, also where I am today is, Dealmaker is a lot more of an outbound motion. So to give you perspective, probably only go over like maybe I would say 10 applications per role, inbound applications. The rest is
Wow.
all outbound. So the rest is all outbound sourcing, all of that. The main thing that's been changing, that's been out to our benefit, is AI. That's number
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
We'll touch upon that. That'd be bucket
We
number
got to
two.
talk about it. It's you
Yeah,
can't avoid it, man. Like everywhere you look, like the water I poured this morning was from
AI,
AI. It's
100%.
ridiculous. Yeah.
The number one is AI. Number two, in terms of the tooling, there's been introduction of many tools that this has allowed me to get time back. For example, like MetaView,
Yeah.
or a form of note taking in interviews. From that perspective, that's been a big time saver, because normally you've been in the role where you're trying to type in candidates' notes while trying to talk to them, while trying to do everything. It gets a lot. This one you could actually take a step back, listen, observe, and kind of take some information in. So
I've
number
got
one.
a terrible story for you that you're probably going to cringe at, and it's going to date me, but there was this my first like agency role. I had like my monitor right beside me, and but I was really struggling with note taking, and there's no note, like it was where like you would fax your resume in,
Okay.
and like I would meet every candidate that I wanted to in person at the office, and people would drive to the office to meet me. We would do an interview. It was no phone screens. Like we would do a phone screen, but then I would meet in person. That was part of the firm's thing, is like we meet everybody in person. And so I would have these people show up for the meeting, and like I'm terrible with writing down on a piece of paper. But so I was like, you know what? I'm going to just make it so that like, listen. And so for like, there was like 2 weeks where I tried like having my monitor off to the side, and I would just sit there in front of people with my keyboard, and I'm like, I'm just going to take notes while we're talking. It is the most awkward idea I've ever had in my entire life. And you're like, yeah, things like MetaView and all these other tools are like such a lifesaver, because like I wish I could go back to that age, because it was so cringy, like just me sitting there just typing out everything they were saying while they're
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And then you have to, and then when they stop talking, and then it was so hard to sometimes make a conversation flow, because like you're like, wait, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that one more time? I didn't miss that. Oh, you said something really good there. Can you bring that back? So no, I've been there, and someone like me as well. I talk fast, so I'm also being more conscious to like slow down. But there's also other people out there. I don't know about you, but I would say at least 90% of the people in the world can talk faster than I could type.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, so there's some people that talk a bit slow and able to capture it, but for the most bit, people tend to talk faster than I could type. And I'm a pretty fast typer, but people can talk quicker.
yeah.
So there's that. That's been one of a game changer tool, or a version of that tool. Another hot take: I don't think AI has been able to save time in terms of like screening resumes. People will be like, "Oh, AI can help you screen resumes."
It's
There's
not
something
there yet.
no, there's something about me. Like there's something about AI is very like black and white, in the sense that they can't see of like the accomplishments and content, or they can't put I would say a score on it. Yes, you can train it. Yes, you could tell them to capture achievements, but like it depends also how AI reads it, because like
Mm,
some resumes may not be accessible to read to AI. They're not, because we don't know the back end. At least I don't know the back end of what the AI can read or not. From that perspective, so that's number one. And also number two is, I may be old school, but like I still value someone being able to run a marathon, someone that is um able to juggle different kind of like I would say activities at the same time. Which I'm not saying it's gonna be a slam dunk individual, slam dunk candidate, but I'd be more like I'd be actually intrigued to speak to them, to be like, hey, let me like hear a bit more about their story, because you'll be surprised from that standpoint, which I don't think AI can kind of, I would say, suss out just yet,
yeah, yeah.
from that perspective. So I haven't really been using it from a resume screening perspective, more from a note taking, more about taking all the administrative side and all admin tasks away, making it a bit more easier. Like for example, when it comes to candidate communication, when it comes to email responses, Slack messages, all of that, AI has made things a lot easier. So I save so much time there. Than like I was also part of the days where I have to proofread this email before sending it to a client like 4 times, 6 times, like you want to make sure there's
Yeah,
no typos, no errors. Like, so I was still part of that process in that time. So AI has definitely saved ample of time from there. And also these days as well, also applicant tracking systems are also upgrading like their game, like the Ashby's and Coolers, they're also upgrading in terms of what they offer, which is like compared to then is like honestly some of the ATSs I've worked with were like almost Stone Age compared to what's coming out now. So definitely on the up and up from an applicant tracking system. So outside of AI, also use MetaV for that. Also, what other tools am I using these days?
What's like a non-recruiting tool that you use on a day-to-day basis that still, I mean, because you're a recruiter, you benefit from it, but it's not necessarily like, oh, this is like recruiting tech.
Like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. Yeah,
Claude.
so
Okay.
ChatGPT,
Talk to me
Gemini.
about how you use those differently, because everybody, it's interesting. It's like I go to, like, if they were grocery stores, like I only go to Claude for ice cream, and I only go to ChatGPT for granola. And like, what's your approach with these
Claude
LLMs?
Claude for presentations. If I'm they actually make better presentations. So I have a paid version of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I don't have a paid version of Claude. Gemini is enterprise wide. So I've actually broken down to like a T.
Okay.
Glad you
No,
asked.
no.
Glad you asked this. Claude for presentations, Gemini for actually making visuals. For example, infographics, and also things to add when I'm ever presenting any dashboards, all of that. What Gemini does great as an enterprise, it can connect to other Google related documents, so like Google Sheets. It can also connect to like your Google Doc. So, for
Yeah.
example, sometimes if I'm running any analysis, or if I record a meeting and it goes into my Gemini Google document, on my Gemini, I could actually be like, at this document, reference it in your response, all of that. So it kind of connects all my Google Sheets enterprise wise. Plus, it's great on creating infographics. ChatGPT is in and everything else. I use my ChatGPT to fact check my Gemini. And so whatever output Gemini does, I actually copy paste out to ChatGPT and fact check it, irrespective. I don't think Gemini is there yet, in my opinion, to operate on its own. Let me tell you
Yeah.
that. And then Perplexity is what I do for. I think Perplexity trumps Gemini, Claude, all of them when it comes to deep research. When I'm
Right.
trying to
Right.
understand what is the average compensation of engineers in Colombia, I actually don't even bother with Gemini, or Claude. Sometimes I use chat, but Perplexity, because Perplexity actually gives you links where it's founded, all of that. So when I'm doing deep research on something, I'm always using Perplexity. And then I take it from Perplexity, draft it in my prompt, and tell it to put in a nice little report in ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is like the father of all, and I use it to fact check everything. And then I would say the children are like Claude, Perplexity,
Yeah.
from that aspect. But that's how I use
Wild.
them.
No, that's so. I'm glad I asked. Such a cool response. Like, yeah, there's so many different things. You've jumped into any of like the vibe coding stuff, or like coding
Not
with these tools?
not yet, but as of my next project, I am trying to build out either a sourcing agent. So I already built one out like with Notebook LM, but that's just internal for Dealmaker, that will
Yeah.
help. So for example, as I continue to scale and grow, I'm not saying this is going to replace people's jobs, so that don't quote me on that. But you know how some companies have sourcers,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm looking to kind of build out with Notebook LM, where we could provide hiring managers with this tool that they could source at their fingertips as well.
Yeah.
So it'll mean that like they just have to enter a couple of prompts, put that into Google, because now Google, you could do X-ray searches on Google, and they could be like, "Hey, I've source connected all these candidates. Once they get back to them, then I connect with them." So people, so they actually don't need the purpose of a sourcer, because anybody wants to source can use that to help them source. And it's simple as copy and pasting. They don't have to have any prior knowledge about any recruitment. All they need to do is upload the job description. Hey, give me a Google X-ray search, post that into Google, see what candidates they like, get it back to me, and go from there. So that's what I'm building and trying to build next. So if it passes the POC, the prototype A, maybe vibe code that. I call it Scout AI. So that's like number
Okay.
one. That's number one that I'm thinking about. And then I know that I'm also trying to see, I know there are tools for scheduling out there, but like this is like you mentioned past, present, and future. I think future comes in. You know how hiring managers have, like, sometimes the calendar can be booked, but it's a meeting that you could override. For example, it's a one-on-one with the other
Yeah, yeah,
employee that they can move.
yeah,
If you use a scheduling tool, they can't tell you that because it's a booked meeting. They don't know it. But I want
yeah,
to be able to, at future states, have something that knows like one-on-ones could be moved, internal meetings can be moved. If it's not a certain meeting, it could be moved. So going into that future state when it comes to scheduling, that would be nice. And what I'm thinking about feasibility um, in the future for an AI use case.
yeah. I mean, imagine you're feeling the pain of like calendar Tetris, where it's like at the end of the day, the thing that's going to close this role is people meeting people. And if I have to wait a week for this candidate to meet the hiring manager, meanwhile, there's like 3 or 4 slots that I don't know about that I can't even tap into because their calendar doesn't. It's just like almost another layer. Like I imagine like you knock on Google's door and you'd be like, hey, listen, can you make it so that like hiring managers or people just in general can like highlight meetings as movable, like internally?
Exactly. Put a
Yeah.
note. Put like even a different color. These can't be moved. These can be moved,
Yeah.
and then do a bit. That's actually the most. In theory, you're completely right because that is what the easiest next step would be. Because me and you can edit our calendar, and we just need a tool to be able to read. Hey, this is movable. You could book over this to provide us with availability. So that's actually where we're thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Or even like ideally, like, and this is just me wishing upon a star, but you just drop the meeting on top of the hiring manager's calendar, and the hiring manager can make the choice like, okay, yes, like I had that relationship with hiring managers in the past. Not all of them, but some of them. They're like, listen, hiring's my top priority. Just book it in my calendar. And if I can't make it happen, I'll move it. And like obviously try to choose an empty spot in my calendar. But if you can't, but it's such like I mean, calendars can feel like a private thing. Like there's some folks that are like, no, you can't see it. I'm not showing you anything. It's just busy, busy,
Yeah,
busy, 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 busy. And it's just like placeholders for nonsense. And they're just making it look like they're busy or they're actually busy, whatever. But like you get the point. That's cool. So what you're these are things that like above and beyond just your day-to-day placements, like these are the tools that you're using, these are the problems you're trying to solve for yourself. What would you say is the most exciting or promising aspect of just like talent acquisition as a profession in the future? Like how do you envision the future? Like what or how are you prepping for the future yourself?
great question. I'll tackle the prepping for the future first in the sense that I am looking to add value beyond just execution and beyond just recruitment when it comes to the advisory piece.
Yeah.
Um, and another thing to prep is I am looking to, because AI is here to stay. Everybody's using AI. People, some companies are trying to be fully move their whole process in terms of AI. Like I don't know if you've heard that that some companies are using AI to do like the initial screen. So if you were to apply and the AI is to assess your fit, they actually either like call you an AI and they give you a bunch of questions you answer, or
Yeah.
like they automatically reach out to you. So I'm trying to make myself as relevant as possible. In those situations. And let me tell you how. Number one, I am growing and building with AI in terms of all my process and everything I'm doing. Is AI is becoming more efficient and it's making me more efficient, which means I could do more in my day from that point of view. And then also, number two is becoming more of an advisor, more of a partner by being more data driven. Like for example, providing hiring managers with talent maps, providing hiring managers with like with market updates, market summaries, all of that. That just goes beyond what the day to day is. And then number three as well is getting up to speed on other avenues of, I would say, as I mentioned to you, like the business partnering, how to grow that side of my expertise, because I think I've actually been seeing these roles come out is talent acquisition business partner. That these roles are coming out. So then now the
Tab.
yeah, so now they're trying to combine those roles into one. So like, we're moving just
Yeah.
from a pure business partner perspective and pure talent those into
Yeah.
one. So I'm seeing these early signs, and then I'm just trying to make sure that I'm gonna be best situated in order to not be like, oh shit, I should have done it then. I'm actioning it now and using it now and making myself as valuable as possible. Someone told me once is that I want the way I operate is I want people to miss me so much when I'm out there. Like, oh,
Mm,
Denzel knows this. Denzel's the one to do this. That's
yeah.
like, I want them to miss me. I want my out of office to cause commotion.
I
Right?
love it.
That's how I'm positioning for the future, to be
Yeah.
honest.
When somebody sees you're out of office, they're like, "Oh shit,
Yes.
we're screwed.
I want that.
When's he back? Oh god, 2 weeks. Oh no."
Did you find out? I want them to be. I want them to be needing to. Hey, can I get your number to message you on invocation? I'm gonna say no, but I want that to be the case.
I love how you position that. No, I mean, you got to make yourself indispensable, but that's such a colorful way of like painting it. I love it. Um, any kind of final thoughts to leave the listeners at this point?
Any final thoughts to leave the listeners? One thing about my success, and one thing I'll give a success and also like a strength that's yet to be developed. Um, Number one is an interview tip. I'm giving away trade secrets here, but um, after every interview, so I trade. One thing I always tell people that are interviewing and people that are going to interviews is one question you should always ask hiring managers, and even if you're interviewing yourself, is there anything from my experience or my responses today that you need any further clarification on, or need me to enhance on anything?
Hmm.
Because most of the time, if they say no, that means you're able to answer everything. But if you encourage them to be like, that's actually a very good question, you could have actually answered XYZ, at least you leave every interview knowing that you've given your best and there is no doubt from that perspective.
That's
That's
a
number
solid
one.
one.
That's number one when it comes to interviewing and it comes to that. And number two as well is that it's gonna sound very philosophical, but there's more to life than work. So
No.
there's more to life than work. So you got to you got to love what you do, but that doesn't mean that you forget to do what you love.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
that means is like I love to work, but there's also many things that I also do love outside of that from that perspective. So you need to make sure to make space for that, because once you make space for that, you'll be more motivated to do your work, because you're getting you're not only going to be hoping for your source of fulfillment to be from one avenue as well. So you kind
Yeah.
of broaden
Yeah.
your horizon. So that's just the way I've been living life, and my, I would say, motto, and that's what I like to leave the listeners with.
No, it's excellent, excellent tips. I mean, it's there's an easy trap to kind of getting caught up in what you do and making that big part of your identity, and because of the way things go sometimes with business and the world and the economy, it's like when you lose that thing that is all you've biggest part of your identity. Like there are so many people. I remember talking to a lot of folks when Shopify went through their restructures, and like when companies have it's especially harder when companies have cultures
Yeah,
that bring you in so much. You're like, even if you had that boundary, I'm like, no, but like, no, the company's so good and like I like it, and then it becomes a part of you, and you talk about it at barbecues, and you care about it more than you expect, and then it's gone, and then you kind of have to start from scratch. So it's very alluring sometimes when, if you're lucky enough to have a great company like that, then you just have to have that boundary. And it's good to did you find out that boundary sort of like the hard way, or is it
the
just
hard
more
way.
like you
The hard
did?
way, and that's why it's very important, and it's also so hard to see earlier on. I think it also comes with experience, because it's actually very good what you say is because you in life you have to have different pillars that add to your source of happiness,
Yeah.
and different pillars that can able to satisfy your needs and all of that. Because as you mentioned, if one of those pillars come out, and if that's your sole pillar, it's gonna devastate you. And
Yeah.
it's as simple as like what me and my friends always say is that when people run marathons, sometimes they make the marathons their whole personality and all of that.
Yeah.
But then once they get injured, you could see, oh my, they have like no more sense of purpose, even
Yeah.
though there's so much more to life than that. So you got to make sure that there's different kind of avenues to make you that actually source of happiness. And the to answer your question, I learned it the hard way twice. Is once I've been affected with a restructuring with a company that was fantastic and all of that, but it is what it is. The name of the game is it was a great company, but the whole people team was affected. But the one that really hurt me the most was my first time tearing my Achilles and not being able to play soccer.
Mm,
That was a big one because I had everything I loved and knew was football, soccer, and it was taken away from me in a matter of seconds. And I was like, "Holy shit! What am I like? My life is done. Like, what am I going
yeah.
to do now? I'm going to become fat. I'm going to become unfit. Like, so many things running through my head is like that. I was like, wait, then you should take a step back and realize, and that's how I got into different avenues, spin, other stuff as well. So then I was as and just kind of diversify from that perspective into different pillars that kind of add to your satisfaction.
No, no, it's very, I appreciate you sharing that. Like it's absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Oftentimes, most times people kind of have to learn the hard way. And, I guess, yeah, no, one last quick question. What would you say was the thing that helped you get out of that? Like when you tore your Achilles and you were like, oh, this is my life. How did you get out of that funk? And how did you be like, cool, I got to find new things and
It
whatnot?
was it was I would say, I mean, it's easier said than done because it was for me, it was a mindset and a decision that I made that option A is feeling sorry for myself and thinking, start to think of what if I didn't, what if I trained better? What if I stretched? Or what if I didn't play football that day? And changing that into, okay, now what is next? Now thinking about
Mm,
starting to get get away from the fear of trying something new and being okay with failing. It's changing that
yeah.
mindset because in life, well, my philosophy is, success is 99% failure. You only need to succeed once in order for it to have that big impact. So you gotta be
Yeah.
okay and ready to fail. And having that shift in the mindset, being it's okay to fail and try something new, is actually what got me out of my comfort zone to even try a spin class, which actually got me out of a comfort zone to actually try XYZ. And that was the mindset shift that a lot got me through the my first Achilles tear. And through my second one, I had the same mindset. But yeah, that's what it was.
Amazing. No, awesome, awesome advice. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome, awesome. I feel like we're gonna have to talk again. Maybe bring you on again, and we can dive into some of the stuff you're talking about in terms of mindsets. I feel that's a whole other
Oh,
episode there,
it's
but
a whole other thing, and I've honestly, the more I've been instructing, the more I've been into that space. I've been studying it a lot more, and also like trying to practice what I preach.
mm,
And like it's been a great, I would say, help both from professional and a personal perspective. And
yep,
it's also made me into a better employee today in the way that I receive feedback and the way I give feedback and all of that because like it's a mindset that like being I could talk for days because there's also one about
yeah,
being a disagreeable giver that I'm also practicing. So yes, I could actually go on for days in terms of like that side of the house. But yes, it's a
yeah,
mindset that I did, but and I'm loving it, and that's what I'm hoping to get at every day, and like honestly, maybe even one day even become like a coach to that extent.
nice.
'Cause that's what I'm trying to. Like that's like my peak interest right now when it comes to that because mental health is big and it's not talked about enough and mindsets like that. So
Yeah, no, it's very true. No, and yeah, well, here's to that. You a delightful guest to chat with. Thank you so much for your time, And who knows? We'll have you on again in the future when you're a coach.
Sounds good. I love that.
Awesome.
All
Cheers.
right, then. Pleasure. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye for now.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're not already a member of the community, please join us at thepeoplepeoplegroup.com.